With the season coming up in a couple weeks, I decided to get this thing to the shop and put it on the dyno just to make some just checkup tests more than anything. Just a couple hits at moderate boost levels. So typically on the dyno, I don't turn the car up over 14, 15 pounds. Remember, it is a stock engine, so I really don't feel like there's really anything to gain from turning it up just for a power number, right? So just want to do some basic tests here. In the meantime, we've got it to the shop. I had another car to tune this afternoon, so I brought it inside, changed the oil on the car, gapped a new set of plugs. I just run the NGK 6510 in these, or a Brisk RR12S typically. I gap them both down to 18. Pretty typical stuff there. Oil-wise, we run good old Schaefer's 2050 racing oil in this thing, and then a bottle of RevX oil additive. We've had really good luck with that. And then after I get that stuff done, we're going to put it on the dyno and just make some baseline hits. I was really happy here, but listen to this first run we make. Things don't go quite as planned, and we were able to make it through the dyno session, but basically it was essentially a waste of time. So check out these two videos. The first pull, the thing doesn't even make it into boost before it's so rich it won't accelerate anymore. And this is on the same tune it was on before. Everything's the same there. The only difference is on that 94-104 rather than the 80-96 turbocharger that was on it before. So I'll talk about what happens here in a second, but Alright, so I really didn't know what was going on there. The ECU itself has short-term fuel trims. Obviously, they're turned on. It's closed loop all the time. I do limit the amount of adjustment the computer has on its own, so I limit it to 5%. It can remove 5% of fuel. So it was pulling the 5% out it's supposed to when it sees too rich of a mixture, and it was still bottoming out the wideband. It was just crazy, crazy rich. And I was really baffled by that. This is the same fuel map we've had in it forever. Now granted, we've changed what's essentially the primary air pump of the engine, being the turbocharger, but we've made it more efficient, not less efficient. And obviously those things have an efficiency curve as well, right? So it's not gonna be more efficient anywhere. I didn't think much of it. I just went straight to making fuel changes. I pulled 10% out of it in that area, went back to start the car, and it started, but it was only running on 4 cylinders. I'm thinking like, man, did we break it? Like what is going on? I didn't get any video of the thing running on 4 holes because I just kind of went into panic mode and started to try to sort it out. And I unhooked the battery, hooked the battery up, and it started and it was fine. I'm like, okay, like this is weird, whatever. So I ended up making it through the dyno session. It did that a few times where it was starting to run on 4 holes and it would fire up and be okay. I ended up having to pull 11% of fuel out of it everywhere to get the fuel trims to where they were still pulling 2 or 3, so I might pull another 2 out of it. Anyway, what I learned, here's the next hit. Check this next hit out. This is at 15 pounds. On the 80 mil at 15 pounds, now different, weather, significantly different. But it made 673 on the 94. On the 80, it made 700. So I'm like, with 27 horsepower, that's kind of whatever. It's in the ballpark, right? I was a little disappointed. I was hoping the 94-104 deal, in theory, it should make more horsepower per pound of boost. But again, it has its own efficiency map, and if we're under the efficiency curve of the turbocharger, it's not uncommon to see something like that happen. So once I got this next hit in, check this thing out. Car sounds pretty good. Sounds back to normal again. And then I'll go through the data log the following day in the morning, and I'll show you guys what I found on the data as to why that power number was low. So here's what I found when I was looking at the data the next day. This isn't Haltech's data log viewer for what that's worth. This is Mega Log Viewer. I opened it up in this just because I had exported it as an Excel file, and this program does a pretty good job with that style format. So anyway, what I've got on the screen here is I've got RPM the white line. You can see the total RPM value up here in the corner, and then I've got the camshaft angle in red. And you can see part of the way through the hit here, it just goes to negative whatever, which is a default value, right? So what happened during the first hit, the camshaft sensor just failed. Now I was getting, number one camshaft sensor is actually the home trigger for the Haltech as well, which if you're familiar with sequential ignition systems, this thing has a crankshaft sensor to determine crankshaft location, and it has a home sensor to determine, like in a really simplified version, where top dead center number one compression is going to happen. So it knows the order in which to fire the cylinders, the order in which to fire the injectors for all the sequential stuff, right? So basically, when that home trigger failed, or when that cam sensor failed, this thing goes to a default value. I didn't know what Haltech would output to the cam, as far as if it can't read what angle the camshaft is at, does it revert to just the default cam timing map and give it that value anyway, or does it go into something else? Well, it turns out it goes into what's called a recalibration mode. And when it's recalibrating, basically the camshaft is at 0 degrees, and normally at watt under boost, I'm 30 degrees of cam timing. So that is why the thing wouldn't rev up the first hit. It's also why I had to pull a bunch of fuel out of it to make the thing even remotely happy still. And it's probably why it was down 27 horsepower, because the camshaft sensor literally wasn't working. I looked at the rest of the polls, and even when it would start, so Haltech has to see the cam sensor for 8 revolutions to sync. I have mine set to what, once it syncs, it never looks for the camshaft sensor again during the running process. That was why I was able to, occasionally it would start, the sensor would work for those 8 revolutions, it would fire up, but in every one of the other data logs I would see, it would be defaulted as soon as I went full throttle to 0. And actually, I'm sure it was defaulted before then, but I'm not recording until I'm over 80%. But yeah, so that's it in a nutshell what happened. I've since got a new cam sensor in the thing. I put it on the 2-step a couple times. I haven't put it back on the dyno. I probably won't put it back on the dyno. But yeah, basically that's what was going on. That's why we were down the horsepower, why the feeling was different, blah, blah, blah. So at this point, I'm just waiting for a nice warm day. We've been kind of not doing real well on the weather front up here, because it's been 60 degrees during the week. And then come Saturday, when we're supposed to go test, it's been like 30 degrees, 34 degrees. Like today, I'm sitting here on a Saturday. We're supposed to be going to the track today at noon, and it's 39 degrees out right now. So it's just too cold. Next week, though, is looking like it's supposed to be 70 degrees outside, which I am just super stoked about. I hope that that's what ends up happening.